You wake up in 2026, open your phone for a quick check, and within seconds, you're watching something you didn't search for, feeling something you didn't choose, and thinking about something you didn't plan to think about. That's the battle. And if it feels like you're losing, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're a human brain going up against systems that learn from billions of clicks, optimize 24/7, and get rewarded when you react. Google has said that on YouTube, recommendations drive the majority of watch time, meaning most viewing isn't the result of a deliberate search. It's the result of what gets placed in front of you next. More than 7 out of 10 is a common figure that gets cited in discussions of YouTube recommendations. And even if the exact share shifts, the direction is clear. The default experience is being served, not seeking. AI sometimes nudges us. It doesn't control us, but nudges compound. Tristan Harris, who helped expose how persuasive design works, has warned that many systems are optimized for attention, not for your well-being, because attention is what the business model can measure and monetize. The system doesn't need to hate you. It just needs to keep you engaged. Subscribe to Mind for AI and click the bell icon and watch till the end to stay ahead of the systems shaping your decisions. Because once you can see the nudge, you stop calling it just me. Now let's make this feel uncomfortably relatable. You're scrolling late at night. Your brain is tired, your willpower is thin, and you're telling yourself you'll stop after one more. The next clip is a little more emotional than the last one, a little more personal, a little more perfectly timed for your mood. You feel yourself leaning in, and you have that thought, why am I still watching this? Then you keep watching anyway. You open a shopping app for something simple, a cable, a replacement, a boring purchase. Then you see recommended for you. And it's not random. It's a guess based on people like you and moments like yours. You pause for half a second, and now the guesses get sharper. You add one item you didn't plan to buy, and it feels like you were being smart. It was convenience for your impulse. You check the news to stay informed, and 10 minutes later, you're tense. Not informed, tense. Your jaw is tight, your heart rate is up, and you're arguing in your head with someone you will never meet. You didn't decide to spend your evening like that. The sequence decided for you, one recommendation at a time. You go to message a friend, and the app suggests a reply that is perfectly polite, perfectly safe, perfectly bland. You tap it because you're busy. Now, you didn't just outsource typing. You outsourced tone. You outsourced personality in that moment a little bit. And it feels fine. That's the point. Here's the comparison. We're living through. Before AI-driven feeds, information was slower and more shared. TV had schedules. Newspapers had one front page. If you wanted something, you went looking for it, which created a pause where your brain had to decide. The default was friction. Now the default is flow. Autoplay removes the pause. Infinite scroll removes the pause. Push notifications remove the pause. Recommendations remove the pause. And when the pause disappears, the easiest version of you takes over. The version that clicks what feels good, what feels urgent, what feels validating, what feels relieving. Did you just feel that word, relieving? That's the hook. Because when people say AI is taking over, the realistic version is simpler. AI systems are not mind-reading dictators. They are probability engines that rearrange your options, and humans are heavily influenced by what is available, what is easy, what is first, and what is repeated. So what is actually happening? A recommendation system is a ranking machine. There are millions of possible things you could see, so the platform must choose an order. The order becomes your experience. Then the model learns from what you do, what you watch, what you skip, what you replay, what you linger on, what you share, what you comment on, even what you hate watch. You're not just consuming content. You're training the system that serves you content. And in 2026, this doesn't only happen in entertainment. It happens in shopping, search, maps, music, dating, job platforms, customer support, and workplace tools. The system doesn't decide your life in one big moment. It decides the stream of small moments that shape your mood and attention, and those shape your next decision. Here's a real example, of why that matters. Researchers published a large study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences reporting that changing what people were exposed to in a social feed was associated with changes in the emotional language people used in their own posts. Not mind control, a measurable nudge in expressed emotion at scale. Kramer, Gilroy, and Hancock, PNS. That's why this feels like a battle. Your brain is emotional and context-sensitive. Your online environment is constantly shaping context. Now let's talk about why your brain loses more often than you expect, even if you're smart and even if you know better. Neuroscience Explanation 1. Fatigue changes who you are. When you're tired, stressed, or overloaded, your executive control gets worse. That's the part of the brain involved in planning, inhibition, and long-term decision-making. Sleep and performance research, including work associated with David Dingus and others in sleep medicine, consistently shows that sleep loss impairs attention and cognitive control. In plain language, fatigue makes you more impulsive and more habit-driven. So the tired brain doesn't choose deeply. It defaults. And the default online is whatever is already playing, already suggested, already one tap away. Neuroscience Explanation 2. Variable rewards are sticky. Your brain is highly responsive to unpredictable rewards. The classic behavioral psychology idea from B.F. Skinner's work on variable reinforcement schedules explains why maybe the next one can be more powerful than this one is good. Infinite scroll is basically a variable reward machine. Most posts are average, but one is amazing, and that possibility keeps you going. You don't scroll because it's great. You scroll because it might be. Now combine those two with AI ranking optimized for engagement. A tired brain plus variable rewards, plus a system trained to predict what keeps you there. That's how you lose the battle without noticing you're even fighting one. And here comes the emotional pain people rarely name. You start living in a slightly different personality online than you intended. More reactive, more outraged, more anxious, more impulsive, more compare and despair. Not because you chose that identity, because it performed well in your feed. So here's the cliffhanger you need to hear. The most dangerous part of AI in 2026 isn't one giant decision that ruins your life. It's the slow accumulation of tiny nudges that make you more predictable. But the moment you become deliberate, the battle changes. Hit like if you've ever looked up from your phone and thought, I didn't mean to spend my time like this. Now we solve it with what, why, and how, without exaggeration and without telling you to delete your life. Here's the what. The battle is not you versus an evil AI. It's your brain's ancient shortcuts versus modern systems that exploit predictable shortcuts. Your brain prioritizes novelty, threat, social approval, and emotional relief. AI systems learn what triggers those priorities in you, then arrange a stream that keeps triggering them. Here's the why. Because attention is not just a resource. It's the steering wheel of your day. What you attend to becomes what you think about. What you think about becomes what you feel. What you feel becomes what you choose. And those choices, repeated, become your habits and your life. If a system can influence your attention rhythm, it can influence your life direction. And there's a second why most people miss. This isn't only about time, it's about agency. When you feel like you're always responding, you slowly lose the sense that you're the one choosing. That's when you really lose, not when you waste time. So here's the how. Practical steps that actually work for beginners because they don't require perfect willpower, they require better defaults. Micro-action 1. Create a purpose sentence before you open a feed. Before you open the app, ask, what am I here for? One purpose, one task, one answer. If you can't name a purpose, you're not choosing. You're about to be chosen for. Say it. What am I here for? Micro-action 2. Reclaim the pause. Turn off autoplay where you can. If you can't, build a manual pause. When a video ends, take your hand off the phone for one breath and decide if you want another. That breath is not about mindfulness as a lifestyle. It's about letting your planning brain re-enter the room. Small pause, big power. Micro-action 3. Train your recommendations like they learn from you, because they do. Use not interested. Use don't recommend. Unfollow accounts that reliably spike your nervous system. Clear or pause history during days when your behavior is not your values, like when you're sick, stressed, or doom scrolling at midnight. The system can't tell the difference between "I chose this" and "I got stuck." It only sees engagement. Stop rewarding what you don't want more of. Here's a stat that makes the environment feel real. Data Reportal's digital reports have repeatedly shown average daily social media use around the 2 to 3 hour range globally, depending on year and region. That's not a tiny hobby. That's a major environment. Data Reportal: environments shape behavior. So shape your environment. Now let's add a believable AI solution that doesn't turn into hype. Use AI as a mirror, not a master. Do a 24-hour decision trace. For one day, write down a few moments when you felt pulled. Not every click, just the moments that felt automatic. What were you feeling right before? What did you click? How did you feel after? Then, if you want to use AI, paste those notes into an AI tool and ask it to summarize patterns. What emotions show up before I get pulled? What time of day I'm most reactive? What topics trigger impulsive behavior? What sequences lead to mood drops? The AI might not be perfect, but it can spot repetition fast. And repetition is the key. Because once you see the trigger clearly, you stop moralizing and start designing. If you notice you scroll when you feel lonely, you don't try harder. You plan connection. If you notice you buy when you feel anxious, you add friction like waiting until tomorrow for non-essential purchases. If you notice outrage content hijacks you at night, you block it during night hours and replace it with calmer inputs. This is the move from willpower to design. Did you just feel another nudge, even while watching this? Here's an analogy that makes it stick. AI is like a chess opponent that studies your opening moves. If you always do the same thing when you're tired, bored, stressed, or uncomfortable, you become easy to predict. But deliberate moves are harder to predict than defaults. AI is best at predicting your defaults. It struggles with your deliberate choices. That's the identity shift for 2026. You go from reactive consumer to conscious chooser. You don't need to win every moment. You just need to reclaim enough moments that the direction of your day becomes yours again. And here's the most hopeful part. The battle is not permanent. It's not hopeless. The system is powerful, but it depends on you being predictable. When you add pauses, reduce autoplay, train your feed, and widen your inputs, you stop being the easiest version of yourself to optimize against. So let me ask you the question that matters most. If a system gets rewarded when you react, what would happen if you became the kind of person who chooses on purpose? Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Mind for AI if you want realistic, practical breakdowns that keep you ahead of the systems shaping your decisions. Do you think AI really influences your choices? Or are we overestimating it? Comment below and tell me the one place you feel the strongest pull. Scrolling, shopping, news, or notifications? Your brain isn't weak. It's human. And once you build better defaults, you stop losing by default.